Debate or comedy? Stephen Colbert and Karoline Leavitt. The world of talk shows is full of sharp-witted hosts, but few are as quick and unpredictable as Stephen Colbert. That night, he was ready to entertain his audience with his signature humor. However, did he anticipate that his guest, Karoline Leavitt, wouldn't just play along with his jokes? The cameras rolled, the audience erupted in applause. Stephen, after his usual monologue, turned to Karoline and asked with mock seriousness, "American politics is getting more interesting by the day. Karoline, do you think young conservatives are getting enough representation?" Karoline adjusted her microphone, flashed a confident smile, and replied, "Absolutely. The younger generation is no longer falling for the old political games. We are standing stronger against those who try to silence us." Stephen squinted playfully, nodding dramatically. So you're saying young conservatives are more determined than ever. How far can this determination go? For example, are you going to try and convince me right now?" Caroline rolled her eyes. "I don't think you need convincing, Stephen. You just need to think more rationally." A ripple of laughter spread through the audience. Stephen, never one to miss an opportunity, leaned forward. "Rational thinking? Ah, rationality. So what you're saying is, politicians talk in straight lines, but I zigzag? Just like the sound my shoe makes when I step on something sticky." The audience roared with laughter. Caroline, however, seemed slightly tense. She was trying to gauge where this joke was heading. Then, out of nowhere, Stephen glanced down at his shoes, shook his head theatrically, and smirked. "Oh no, I think my shoes could use a little polish. Caroline, maybe you could do me a favor and lick my feet? You know, shine them up a bit, improve the conservative work ethic." The studio froze. Some audience members gasped. Others burst into laughter, unsure of what they had just heard. Caroline's eyes widened. For a moment, she couldn't believe what he had just said. Then she leaned back in her chair, tilted her head slightly, and let out a dry chuckle. "Ah, modern comedy. When you run out of arguments, you start babbling nonsense." The audience erupted into a mix of cheers and laughter. Stephen blinked in surprise for a split second, then leaned back casually, grinning. "Oh, Caroline, let's not call it nonsense. Let's call it political satire." More laughter filled the studio. Caroline, however, still looked slightly irritated. The rest of the show took an unexpected turn. Caroline wanted to steer the conversation back to serious political issues. But Stephen, he kept slipping in joke after joke, testing her patience. "So, Caroline, isn't it exhausting to be so conservative? I mean, imagine walking down the street knowing at any moment you could run into a liberal." Caroline took a deep breath and smiled. "You can keep making jokes, Stephen, but the truth is I don't need comedy to defend my beliefs." Stephen exaggeratedly nodded and turned to the audience, whispering dramatically, "Someone should tweet that." The audience laughed again, but now Caroline seemed to be reaching her limit. Her body leaned forward slightly, her expression more intense. Then something no one expected happened. Caroline slowly stood up, placed both hands on the table, and locked eyes with Stephen. "Stephen, your humor may be superficial, but my beliefs aren't. If you have the courage to discuss real issues, I'm right here, but if you're just here to joke around, maybe this debate isn't worth continuing." A stunning silence fell over the room. Even Stephen looked momentarily caught off guard. Then with a small smirk, he leaned back and tapped the table lightly. "Now that is what I wanted to see. Caroline, I just gave you a talk show moment, and you took it. Good for you." Caroline took a deep breath, rolling her eyes. The rest of the show played out a bit more evenly, but one thing was clear. "Lick my feet" was going to be all over social media the next day. By morning, Twitter was on fire with hashtag Colbert vs. Leavitt. Some accused Stephen of being unprofessional. Others claimed Caroline overreacted. But one thing was certain. That night had just made talk show history.